Central to send their businesses around the table. I'm a little nervous, but you know that now. I really just want to do a quick introduction for really thank you guys for being here. It was a choice that you made, and we really appreciate the fact that you're here with us, and it means a lot to us. Quickly, just want to just show a couple of things around. You see the pictures here. These are pictures of the year that we're just sharing events that we had around the year. So we have the photo booth on the back that also you take a couple of pictures and take it with you. So it's a fun way to just remember tonight. People are asking about food, the hors d'oeuvres that we're passing around. That's going to be our main dinner, or what we're going to be eating. And there's some stuff in the back that you can also have. First I want to introduce or speak quickly about what BIR is, so some people understand what the background is. In March this year, the company decided to rearrange how the employee business group is going to be organized to focus now more into the business and doing the connection between the business and the employee resource group. That's how the Businesses Around Table became to be. And we still are working very closely with our MRA members, which is our grassroots support that we have. And from March on, we've been working very hard trying to make this very transparent to everybody. This is a change, and change something that can be hard. So I just want to quickly raise your hand and just introduce some of the members of the task force who are working with this, leading the effort. Dionysius Balsus is right here. He's our leader on the group, and Dionysius is based in China, and we appreciate the fact that he's here with us. Shari Johnson, the Corporate Responsibility and Reputation Task Force leader. Woo! Oh, you wake up. Marty, you see, it's all about you, Shari. Yeah. Okay, let's start again. Dionysius Balsus.
Better, you can keep your job.
Oh God.
Now we're all warmed up. Okay,
now I get it.
Got it, okay.
Mark Cullison is our Business Inside Roundtable leader. And Sue is our really Talent and Inclusion Task Force leaders. So they really are the driver, most of the things we have to put in place for this year since March. Up to today, so really want to thank you guys for all the effort you have put through. So I would just want to pass Dionysius to a welcome message for you all. Thank you.
Thanks. I think the one person we really also didn't applaud is Melvin. And Melvin is way too honest about his role. First of all, the one thing, I don't know if everybody's aware, but when the BIRs were formed, I think the company made a significant commitment to diversity and to the establishment of the BIRs, because for the first time, and I really don't know how many other companies do this, we actually have a paid headcount person who actually his job is to help the LGBT BIR run and be active, etc., and that is Melvin. So, there really is a significant investment on the company's part in terms of taking somebody. Now, Melvin still has half of his job, which is to continue to do the audits and to keep our, supply chain, intact, qualified, and safe. And he does that. I like to think that we get 80% of him, and Willie, don't listen to this, and his boss gets 20% of it. But, I know that on paper he's 50-50, but I do know for a fact that we get way more than 50% of Melvin's time and efforts and energy. So, big round of applause for what Melvin does and what Melvin brings to the organization. I won't belabor the evening because we have a lot to do, and I know people are tired. People want to, sort of mingle and socialize and drink and grab something to eat. But I just want to say that I'm incredibly proud and honored to be in a position to be able to participate and engage in the LGBT community at Merck and the United States. As Melvin said, I live outside of the country. I've been outside the United States for over 20 years with my partner, who's also here, Jim. Okay. He's the man behind the man. But also, and so for me, in my earlier life, I was very active in a lot of LGBT issues when I was in college and when I was in business school, and then kind of left the United States, and there, different priorities, different perspectives, different issues. and being able to re-engage in that in a really meaningful way here at Merck is incredibly, for me, motivating. And I can tell you, I happened to be at Merck a long time ago. It was my first job. And I can tell you that the Merck of today and the Merck of when I started in 1992 are incredibly different places. And the openness, the inclusiveness, the opportunity to be who you are is, I think, unparalleled versus that of where we were. But we still have a lot of work to do, and we still have a long ways to go, and there's still a lot of opportunities and places that we can change. And kind of that's one of the reasons that we're here. As Melvin said, though, another reason that we're here is to also, as members of the Merck community, all of our paychecks say Merck on them, right? And we have a vested interest in making sure that Merck continues to grow and prosper and be profitable in a sustainable way. And I think that the LGBT community at Merck and the LGBT community at large in the world has a very significant role to play in that, whether as consumers, whether as customers, whether as vendors, whether as suppliers, whether, in any form, and whether as employees. So I think that it really is a very much of a two-way street. And the BIR's purpose, I think, is to acknowledge and recognize that duality of really needing to focus on the LGBT community, but also focus on the business and how the two are interrelated and how the two can both prosper in the same time. So that's, I think, what we're all about. Again, it's wonderful to be here. Thank you all for taking time to come and join us in our celebration, and looking forward to meeting as many of you as possible and having a good time tonight.
Thank you very much. Now that you brought Jim into the conversation, I need to bring my Frank into the conversation. So now we are briefly going to speak around what we accomplished in 2012 and what is our plan in general for 2013. So first is Sue. Has been with us for 23 years already. So Sue.
23 years. I know you're thinking I don't look old enough to be here 23 years. Well, in those 23 years, a lot has changed. When I first started working for the company, there were no domestic partner benefits. There was no safe space program. The very first gay and lesbian organization for Merck employees didn't even exist yet. So in 23 years, a lot has changed. The Safe Space program has been in existence now for well over a decade. I know some of you in this room helped start that program, and I know some of you have been very instrumental in championing that program, so thank you. This program is so important because it teaches our colleagues what it's like to be LGBT in the workplace and how they can help us feel more accepted and respected. Over the years, Safe Space has trained thousands of Merck employees. And just in this last year alone, several hundred more have been trained here in the United States. And that's a great accomplishment. But I think we can do better. In our next year, we plan to take the Safe Space program and make it a global program. We want to make sure that all Merck employees are reached by Safe Space. Inclusion is not just a US goal. Inclusion is something that needs to be global, and LGBT employees worldwide need to be able to feel safe and respected in their workplace. Our MRA membership, the Merck Rainbow Alliance membership, has grown by over 60 people this year. That's pretty good. We've increased it by over 20%. And we've added a lot of people to our roles that are international. Also a very nice accomplishment. But our membership is 0.5% of all Merck employees. That's 0.5%. And we can do better. Next year, we want to focus on increasing our membership so that all Merck employees are aware of the Merck Rainbow Alliance and the value that it brings to Merck. And we want to make sure that all Merck employees, whether LGBT or allies, knows of the value that the Merck Rainbow Alliance can bring to them personally. We need to make sure that we continue to work with Merck to create a more inclusive environment where our LGBT colleagues can feel valued and respected, so that they can be fully engaged in doing Merck's important work of discovering, developing, and delivering the medicines and vaccines that make a difference in people's lives. Next year, I ask you to make a personal commitment to helping us continue this important work. We can do better, even though we've come very far. Now, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mark Cullison.
Thank you, Sue. And thank you guys for being here. It's great to be with you. So just to kind of compare and contrast with where Sue is. So a lot of what she talked about and a lot of the efforts are really focused on the internal aspects. Now, when I think about my role, it's really focused on the external aspects. Really thinking about what we can do, not only within this room, but outside this room, to help our customers better know and value Merck products. We've all been places before where we see our competitors, and it may be pride situations, it may be the publications that we look at, it may be billboards. We don't have a presence. So to talk a little bit about what I did in 2012 was really looking at where are we, and frankly, where we're not. And a lot of the conversations were from our customers, where are you? I don't even know what products you have, and I don't know who you are. Which was disheartening, because we have a lot of really amazing things. And I spent a lot of time having these conversations. And so in 2013, what we want to continue to do is help people know and appreciate. So there's the unquantified full potential of the LGBT dollar. And when we think about it, we're very brand loyal, we stand by what we want, and we know what we want. Now it's important to make sure that not only internally, but externally focused, that we are able to make sure that everybody's as proud of our products as we are. So as we continue to focus on this role and making sure that we stay into perpetuity with Merck and make sure this company is as successful and amazing as we all know it can be, that we continue to focus on making sure we drive that business. So I'm counting on you and our colleagues to work with me to make our customers' experience even better. With a round of applause, can I have your commitment? Thank you. I'm calling all of you individually. So with that, I won't bore you anymore and turn over to my dear colleague, Shari Johnson.
Thank you, Mark. And in case you didn't get that, that would be Mark Cullison for New Jersey Governor. You might have your hands full with Governor Christie, but...
And your hand will be very full.
I think I deserve a drink for that.
Pass the hors d'oeuvres. So thank you, Mark, and thank you everyone who spoke before me, Sue and Mark and Melvin. So much work has been done this last year, and it's been a big transition. I remember standing before you all last year in December and talking about what a transition year we were going to have and how the Merck Rainbow Alliance and our global constituency groups were going to be morphing into the new Business Insights Roundtable, and we've certainly seen a lot of changes, and my role certainly has changed from the focus of MRA to corporate responsibility and reputation. Merck has been really outstanding in that area for a long time, and you know, there's a lot of things we can count in the last year, but just as Sue and Mark alluded to, there's still a lot of work to be done. We're really thankful to, again this year, be a perfect 100 score in the HRC Corporate Equality Index. That's something we're going to continue to work very hard on. Every year the bar is raised, and we intend to fully meet or exceed that bar and continue to be a place where LGBT employees feel welcomed and feel as if they can bring their whole selves to work every day. Some of our other accomplishments related to Out and Equal. And Out and Equal is an event that every year is sponsored wonderfully by Mike Thean. So we're able to participate on a very nice level. by bringing a variety of colleagues from across the world to the conference. This year, Out and Equal had 2 conferences. They had their first ever global LGBT summit in London, and I was very fortunate to be able to attend representing Merck and along with Roberto Del Bianco from Rome. And we were among 250 colleagues from around the globe, touching on much more global issues than what we see in the United States. Obviously, we're still fighting for things like marriage equality and tax equalization and things like that, but there's other places in the world where the tasks ahead are much, much greater, and it's things about fearing for your life or fearing about being out and disowned by your family and all those types of things. So we had a great conference, and we're able to meet some great contacts. One of the people I met over there worked for another pharmaceutical company, and he was working in London as an expatriate because his partner was Brazilian and could not be given legal entry into the United States to live with him. So his company was gracious enough to provide him with an assignment abroad. He's based in New York, but was living in London, solely for that purpose. So that highlighted to me, and I'd known from personal relationships that I'd had, how important it is that LGBT people are able to bring their same-sex spouses to the United States for legal immigration. We still have a ways to go on that. But there is a business coalition for the Uniting American Families Act, which has been before Congress. Hopefully that will become a non-issue. The Supreme Court is looking fondly upon us in June, but Merck did sign on to that coalition. We were the 25th company. I believe we were the 3rd pharma to sign on. So we were really thrilled to be able to make that happen. Then in October, we're all set to send our largest delegation ever to Out and Equal in Baltimore when Sandy came upon us. The perfect storm for those of us in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And we were scheduled to send 29 people, and I believe we still had 22 that attended, so it was really pretty amazing. Including Roberto, who came from London. He got the prize for traveling the furthest. Well, no, actually Dionysius probably did. He came from China. But many of you in this room were there, and if you weren't there in person, I know that many of you were there in spirit supporting us in other ways. So we had a wonderful time with about 22 other people. It was wonderful to have some new faces there, both allies and LGBT faces, to get more people involved, and it's really difficult to put into words how that event touches you. You have to experience it, you have to be there, you have to go there, and once you do, you really, there's just nothing else like it. And I'll never forget when Lynn told me last year when she was in Dallas, she said, she said, when I first got here, I was a little uncomfortable. She's around 2,500 gay people. And she said, but you know what? Then I realized, this is how you guys feel every day. And I said, well, I really don't, but I get your point. Nonetheless, it's that feeling of inclusion and happiness, and not to mention the fact that who gives better parties than the gay people. So, of course, the conference is great fun as well as an incredible educational opportunity. And then last week, we had some very, very good and controversial news. The Merck Foundation suspended funding to Boy Scouts of America. And, scouting can be absolutely fabulous, but unfortunately there's the intolerance and discrimination that's written into their policies that exclude people. And there was a lot of churn about this on our internet on Sync. The good part was that the vast majority of the responses were in positive fashion, but there were a few that just highlighted how very much work we have to do. Some of them were laced with vitriol, and I think that just shows how much more education that we have to do. Now, scouting can do a lot of good, and hopefully they will see the light and change and learn to be more accepting, because ultimately it is the kids that get hurt. And we've got LGBT kids out there every year who are feeling like they're alone, they're not included, they can't be part of the group, and it leads to detriments, and oftentimes we lose them. And that's just something that we can't do. So we'll continue to work towards that, and hopefully BSA will change their mind, and then we'll change our mind about funding. So those are some of the things we've got going on this last year. We look forward to a new productive year, finding ways to make sure that Merck is out there in the forefront of being one of the great companies to work for LGBT employees. And then on the business side, we want to become and a brand of choice for the LGBT community. Whether it's our consumer products or our pharmaceutical products, there is no other demographic that is as brand loyal. And for those of us that are like me, who carry the HRC little booklet around, and I tell my partner Leah, who needs a mention? No, we're not going to use LL Bean because they're low on the corporate equality index. We need to shop somewhere else. Look, Target's 100. So
They have an app for that.
yes, they do. They sure do. So lots of work to do. I look forward to working with my colleagues again next year. And with that, I will pass it over to let the fun begin of the awards with Mr. Hahn. David Hahn.
So many people do so much, even beyond the folks who are standing up here talking, to make all this happen. And each year, we try to recognize what we believe are the most significant contributions. Every year, and this year is no exception, we get way more nominations than there are awards. And really, everybody who's nominated deserves an award. But there are only a certain number of awards, and the selection process is always difficult. This year, the BIR leaders had their work cut out for them making choices, and I'll turn this over to Sue so she can make the first awards.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, David.
Back to the normal schedule.
So you're next? Okay. So I'm going to, we're going back to the original schedule, so I'm going to turn it back over to Deese.
It's cleaned up.
No, thank you. Yeah, we've changed the schedule a couple of times, very real time. So it's really my honor to present the first two awards to two very, very important people, not only to the LGBT community at Merck, but I think to Merck in general. The first award is the Advocacy Award, and I would like to have Willie Deese come up, please, to accept that award. It's really phenomenal. When I got here and I started talking to Shari and to Melvin and to Mark and to Sue and to other peoples, and learning about, well, what are we doing in the areas of LGBT community and work, every time someone told me about a great initiative or a project or a sponsorship or a support or an ally, it always turned out to be an MMD. And for those of you who don't know, MMD is the Merck Manufacturing Division, of which Willie is the head. And so every time I turned around, it was MMD. And it's like, oh, well, where does he work? Well, he works for such and such. Well, who does that work? And then go up the line and be like, eventually they'd be working for Willie. And so it really struck me of how strong of an advocate you are, and not just, obviously, I know that you don't touch and see every single one of these things, but it's clearly your leadership and the message and the ethos that you bring to MMD, which allows so many members of your team, of your extensive team all over the world, really, to feel comfortable enough to participate and to sponsor and to support. So I think for that reason, we want to award you with the Advocacy Award, and to thank you for your support to date and for all the continued support that you've
given. And everyone here, thank you very much for this award. I'm humbled. Humbled because I think doing what's right is not deserving of awards. Doing what's human is not deserving of awards. I'm a staunch believer in diversity and inclusion, and I believe in it so strongly because of the way I grew up. I grew up in the South in the 50s. I was born in the 50s, and those of you who know a little bit about the history of this country, you might know what that might have been like. And so I have a deep appreciation for anything that discriminates, anything that diminishes the human spirit, anything that keeps us all from being the very best that we can be. And so I'm sure I'm not deserving of this award. I'm thankful and grateful for it. And you can rest assured that you have an ally and one that will not stop as long as he's drawing breath on this earth. I applaud the work that you're doing, individually and collectively, to move Merck forward. But one thing that I feel great about the work that you're doing is that while it might be in your own best self-interest, often the organizations that this work is done in, the benefit does not become fully realized until some point in the future. So I would say to you, never stop, never give up, keep moving forward, and eventually the world will catch up. Thank you very much.
The next award I'm going to present has particular meaning for me, and to be honest, it's a little bit awkward to present. And it's awkward because of who the recipient is and my relationship to the recipient. Because basically, Bridgette, could you please come up here for a moment? I want to introduce the recipient of the award and my boss and friend, Bridgette Heller. And what's funny here is that basically, Bridgette, you're getting an award for hiring me. And I actually think anybody who hires me deserves an award. Exactly, putting up with me. But the reality is that Bridgette, you are being awarded the Talent and Inclusion Award. And it's actually interesting, I did not nominate Bridgette. When I came to the nomination meeting where we were discussing it, I was very surprised to see Bridgette's name on the nomination list. I was very surprised. Almost uncomfortable, right? Trying, what am I supposed to say? Should my boss get the award or not? But I do want to say that the reason for the award is really in recognition of the diversity that you really have created in the MCC leadership team, the Merck Consumer Care leadership team, of which Bridgette is the head. And, hiring someone, I guess, again, I haven't been around at Merck that long, but it seems like we don't really hire very many senior executives who are openly gay and who are out and completely comfortable. And that's not something that happens routinely at Merck. And so I think that the symbol or the very act and bringing somebody in at the level that you brought me in, and the way that you have made this an enormously welcoming environment for both me and for Jim, and the support that you've shown, and the openness, and fully integrating me and Jim into the family has been nothing short of spectacular for me, and this is definitely one of the best work experiences. And you are a wonderful boss, and that our assessment period's coming up and raise discussions. Make sure we keep this all in mind. But thank you, and this award really means a lot to me, and I hope you appreciate it.
So there's a theme going on here because Willie and I, first of all, I'm very thrilled to share the platform with Willie. I'm honored because, what you may not know, Willie and I are great friends, and actually we grew up in a very similar way. We both grew up in the South, and we both knew what it was like to feel different. We both knew what it was like to actually be the only, and to not have a choice about being out and open. And so that is clearly, it gives you something at the root and at the core that makes you appreciate what it is to be able to bring your whole self to the table in terms of your contribution. And we fought for that. I know I have, and I know Willie has as well, for our whole careers in corporate America, from the very point in which we entered and all the conversations that have been had at every table in every succession plan as we've made our way up through the organizations. There's never been a question but someone was there to advocate on behalf of us being able to really bring all of our talents, our whole self, to the to the company and the contributions we were able to make. And so I, like Willie, will never stop doing that, because I do believe it's the right thing to do, but I will also say I believe there is a huge business case for it. And I actually think that case, how many people have read The Medici Effect? Have you guys read that? If you haven't read The Medici Effect, you should. Because one of the things that I find really, I've always understood the business case for diversity, but one of the things I think is fascinating about The Medici Effect is that they really tell the story in a very interesting way about science and how diversity within science, within a scientific community, exists to create a better outcome. So it's impossible to create something with people that are just the same, that is nearly as good as you can create when you introduce diversity into the mix of whatever it is you're trying to generate. And that to me is just the perfect analog for a company. I mean, how could you possibly create solutions that are as good with people around the table that all have the same background, the same value system, the same things, experiences, than you could create if you had a whole diverse pool of that? That just doesn't even make any sense to me. So for me, it's an innate belief that we will get to a better place, a better decision, faster growth, better outcomes because of the representation we have around the table. And for that reason, as well as the fact that it's just simply right, I will always be a supporter not just of, definitely of the LGBT community, but of every community that represents diversity within our corporation and within this world. So thank you very, very much for recognizing me. When Dionysius, I will say that when Dionysius first told me I was getting an award by the LGBT community, I said, really? How come? And then he said, well, you're getting an award for hiring me. I said, okay, I deserve an award for that. I'm not sure if it's for the LGBT community, but any award. No, he's been a wonderful addition. I know he's been a wonderful addition to us. He's clearly been a wonderful addition to you. So thank you very much for this award.
With that, I'd like to pass my sword over to Sue.
Thank you, Dionysius. Our next award is the Merck Outstanding Contributor Award. This award is presented to the colleague who has most strongly contributed to the LGBT community here at Merck. Our awardee this year has been a key contributor to the Safe Space Program, the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, Out and Equal, and the Human Rights Campaign. For Safe Space, she is one of our primary trainers and has completed 5 trainings at the divisional level, as well as facilitating the planning and organization of the program with the program's lead, Jen McGonigal. At the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, she supported our supplier diversity program and attended the annual conference and national dinner. For Out and Equal 2012, she took a leading role in the planning and coordination of all activities, including conducting a Train the Trainer session so that we can have more trainers for the Safe Space program, ordering our shirts, and coordinating our debrief meeting at the end. She acts as a volunteer coordinator for the Human Rights Campaign at the Philadelphia Region Steering Committee and has coordinated 6 Pride events and 2 other events in 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate the winner of this year's Merck Outstanding Contributor Award, Reese Levine.
Wow, I feel like it's the Grammys. I should have dressed better. So thank you. Thank you to all of you. I would not be here without each and every one of you standing behind me, standing with me, and pushing me forward. I know none of this was planned, so whatever comes out of my mouth, it's going to happen. This award means to me that I'm going to have to fight harder next year. I'm going to have to keep working hard. I'm going to have to keep pushing myself to get Safe Space out there as a global program, and pushing this company even further and harder to make it a safe space for all LGBT employees.
This program has done so much for me in the past year and a half. I would not be here today where I am right now without all of you. It's just done wonders for my life on a personal and professional level. Shari, I really have to give you a lot of credit because you pulled me in day one. Melvin, Sue White, all of you, Mike Thien, Mark Pavinetti, all your support, Rachel Feller, I could name every one of you, but I'm going to forget names. So all of you, I thank you. This award is not just for me, but it's for all of you. Thank you.
Our next award is the Ally Award. And this award is presented to the colleague who has most strongly contributed to MRA and the LGBT community here at Merck as an ally. Our awardee this year has shown genuine support for his LGBT staff in every sense of the word. When his staff came to him for permission to attend the 2011 Out and Equal event, he was thrilled and didn't hesitate for a minute to approve the trip. And since that time, he has been very supportive of one of our MRA's key trainers at Safe Space, and in providing and allowing her to provide that training across Merck. He joined our MRA team at the Out and Equal Workplace Summit to show his support not only for Reese, but for our entire team. And he even attended the debrief meeting at the end so that he could better understand what we had learned and how he could help contribute. He has since joined MRA as a straight ally and is excited to help us succeed in gaining even more membership, sponsorship, and in growing the Safe Space program. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate our Ally Award winner of the year, Mark Pavinetti.
Well, I'd like to say thank you to the Rainbow Alliance and the LGBT very much. I won awards in my life, and I have to say this is probably the most special to me personally. It means a lot, so thank you for that. You all heard of the leadership that Willie provides them and the inclusion. Willie, you make it real for us as a business enabler, and beyond that, though, it's really the right thing to do. And for me, as a practitioner of inclusion, it's just the right thing to do. And being here among the group, among friends, and so it's very vivid and clear to me why we're together and why this is really important to be an accomplishment. So I'd like to thank you all for that. But the other thing I'd like to do is step away, and I'm very humbled by this, so thank you for that. I'd like to just step away from myself and recognize the journey that Reese has taken. Any of you that may have known Reese, we've been together 3 years, coming on board, trying to find your true self and the journey that you're taking for personal achievements, the growth that you're trying to do to help others gain some successes, the training you're providing others, the growth in terms of making presentations is stunning to me. Plus going to school and a lot of things to make your life as positive to me. And you credit me for helping you, but it's the other way around, how much you've helped me as an inspiration. So you probably don't realize that. You probably don't realize that. But it's really true. So it keeps me more passionate and more inspiration because of how you have helped me grow. So thank you. Thank you all. And I'm sorry, I want to introduce my daughter Laura, who's joining me tonight. Thank you for being here. My wife would have been here, but she got pretty ill, but Laura's pinch hitting to join us tonight. So thank you.
Our next award is the Community Outstanding Contributor Award. And this award is presented to the colleague that has most strongly contributed to the external LGBT community through fundraising and volunteerism. And as you know, Merck encourages our employees to volunteer because the company believes it not only strengthens the employee and the company, but also the community around us. Our awardee truly embodies that spirit of community volunteerism. She's an active volunteer in 4 organizations and still finds time to be dedicated to the Merck Rainbow Alliance. She's been a consistent participant and fundraiser in Merck's team for the New York City AIDS Walk, and has been the only person from New Jersey to travel to Philadelphia to walk for the Merck team in the Philadelphia AIDS Walk. For the past 2 years, including this year, she's collaborated with the Merck HIV liaison and assisted in organizing emails, contact lists, maps, and planning details. Now, as a result, the Merck team had a very successful year, raising over $14,000. She's also developed a relationship with the fundraising liaison of Cullison and has worked closely with them to organize volunteer opportunities for Merck employees, as well as participating in the annual Hyacinth, easy for me to say, Hyacinth Gala, their biggest fundraising event. She helps coordinate and organize Merck employees to participate in the Garden State Equality Walk in Montclair, New Jersey, and raise monies towards marriage equality here in New Jersey. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me congratulate our winner this year of the Community Outstanding Contributor Award, Ms. Rachel Feller.
I do not like to have the mic in my hand. And Reese just stole one of my first jokes, because when I told my girlfriend that I was going to get an award tonight, she's like, "Oh, it's like the Grammys." So thank you very much for the award. I joined MRA to have LGBT friends because I didn't have any at home. I didn't know anybody in the community. And by joining MRA about 4 years ago, about the size of this room, I think you're all my friends. And I got to meet so many people, and like I said, we have traveled to Philadelphia, traveled to Dallas, traveled to
Baltimore.
And maybe one day I'll get to go to China. Where are you?
Welcome.
I'm always happy to get our community at Merck involved with the outer community and the outer LGBT and ally community. And I think it's very important for all of us to do. And I'll just keep on making friends. So thank you for this award. And have a fun night.
Well, I have one more award to announce, but this person is not here tonight. Unfortunately. Find my correct notes, so I'm correct here. This is the Merck Impact Award, or the MRA Impact Award, and this is a new award. The award is presented to colleagues that make a significant impact for the LGBT community here at Merck. Our awardee is an inclusion partner for MMD and attended Safe Space training in June as part of a global group. She took the training as a personal call to action. Following her training, she organized Safe Space training as part of a Boulder site town hall. The training not only had an impact on those who needed to hear about the Safe Space program, it even moved some people to start their own MRA chapter. Our award winner tonight is Serena Conway, and she has helped create a safe workplace, not only for LGBT Merck people at Boulder, but the only transgender person at Merck who happens to be a contractor, who indicated that Merck is the only place she ever felt safe and accepted for who she was. So let's congratulate Serena. And who's next in the program? Mark?
Mark.
We'll turn the program back over to Mark.
Thank you, guys. Poor Sue gets stuck handing it over to me every single time. So I'll try to be brief and not bore you to tears. I have a couple of awards I'm presenting, and I'm very pleased and honored to be able to do so. So the first award is the Local Chapter Award. And this award will be presented, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. The Creative Activity Award, so rewind the tape. This award will be presented to colleagues that developed and implemented a creative activity in support of the MRA and/or LGBT community. So to note the particular accomplishments before I unveil who it is, this awardee created a poster presentation to recognize October as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender History Month. Each day highlighting a notable LGBT figure in the arts, politics, and sciences, from ancient times to the present. The poster was placed in the main entrance atrium, showcased at the GD&I newsletter. So this is going to give away who it is, but the Boston chapter dedicated the poster in memory of their dear colleague, Jim Ianni, who served as co-chair of the Boston MRA and was very involved in the Global Employee Resource Group activities. So it's with great honor that I award this to Janice Miradelli, who's joining us today on behalf of the Boston chapter.
Hi, thank you everyone. I did have the great privilege of meeting Jim Iannone a few years ago when I originally tried to join MRA, and somehow I got lost in the shuffle. I joined our chapter, but I didn't get to join us globally or even, nationally. And he was a wonderful man, and everyone just adored him. I think he was with Merck for about 30 years. He was with HR, and he just really had this inclusive feeling of everyone being able to bring their whole selves to work, and everyone really, truly appreciated him for all of that. And I just thought it was amazing how the co-chairs, Steve Alves and Melanie, they decided to put together this poster, and we all worked on it, but really, Melanie really put it all together and made this amazing poster of all the people, gay and lesbian, who had contributed to this world, this society, in the past couple hundred years. There are people ranging from the present until hundreds of years back, and it was incredible. And they had this poster in our atrium at the Merck Research Laboratory in Boston, and it was just great. And I'm really honored that I get to accept this award on our behalf. So thank you very much.
So we talked a little bit about the BIR structure and a little bit about the work that we're doing. And what's inclusive is knowing that we're not alone. And there's 8 other groups similar to what we're doing, focusing on other things. So one of the things that really comes out of it, and I think back about what Bridgette said, is you really want to think about how you think across lines, right? And how you want to have a more organic growth. So I'm pleased to put forward the next award, which fundamentally recognizes one of the other BRs for working with us. So to give you a little bit of background, it's the ERG Collaboration Award. And the premise of this award is that it's presented to the ERG who contributed strongly, in this case, to MRA and/or the LGBT community at Merck and/or beyond. This is especially poignant for me because it also touches upon my own family history and my father, and I'll get to that in a moment. So the ERG planned and participated on the first year celebration of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. This ERG truly believes in the support of the LGBT community as shown by their participation at the event. And this particular group, who's now going to be disclosed, the Merck's Veteran Network, has shown great support and solidarity for MRA and LGBT community. As Willie and Bridgette both mentioned, I grew up as the son of an Air Force sergeant, and it was not an inclusive environment growing up on military bases. And I'd like to bring forward our colleague, Marty Bischoff, to receive this award and recognize how far we've come.
Well, I have to say I'm a little embarrassed receiving this. To echo Willie's words, just doing what's right shouldn't receive an award. I've served 34 years in the United States military, and something I was very proud of is that, the United States military was ahead of society in recognizing and including African Americans and women, not only in service but in leadership roles. Somehow, Don't Ask, Don't Tell slipped by. I've served the Balkans, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and I can tell you when we're getting shot at, everyone's the same. So I was really pleased to see the repeal of that a year ago, And I was particularly pleased that it was done by Admiral Mullen, who I briefed a number of times when I was serving in Afghanistan when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So thank you on behalf of the Veterans BIR. Thank you on behalf of all the men and women that serve this great nation. It's truly an honor, and I wish you all the best and look forward to work with you in the future.
So this last award that I'm presenting is going to be tricky for two reasons. One, unfortunately, the recipient of the group is not able to be here. Second, it's going to involve a wardrobe change for me. So I am not Cher, so it's going to be quite clumsy. But Melvin's agreed to help me, and I'll get to what that means. So this next one is the local chapter award. The background on this is this award is presented to the MRA chapter that contributed strongly to the success of MRA. Especially poignant with this is the issue that this particular site had about a year ago. And it unfortunately was a very negative experience. So for the employees at this site, for those who are acutely aware, June is Pride Month. And posters were put up. It's a professional environment. We were working there, and they were defaced. And these were people's pictures. These were our coworkers, some of us. Were literally on those posters. So this was not only hard, but it was personal. It was very personal. So it's important to think that not that long ago, we've had a big journey to traverse. Fast forward a year, and there have been very positive changes. And I really credit the leadership that were in this organization for stepping forward, doing the right thing, knowing it was uncomfortable, hearing us, hearing our opinions, and knowing that it was uncomfortable, knowing that it was tough for us to be our full selves at work when nameless, faceless people were doing things that were acting out against us for things that we can't control and being who we are. So in particular, this chapter celebrated their second Pride event in our Merck facility site. For 2012, moving past what was a tough 2011, the chapter was prepared with early planning, included media lessons, and support from their general site manager. The site GM stood by the MRA chapter and continues to stand by and support for this and other Pride celebrations. Corporate communications and HR were consulted. They were brought in and were very supportive and suggested changes that we could do to be better prepared. There was discussions of canceling the event because of what had happened the year before. However, it took a lot of leadership and courage at this site to be able to take it forward. So to be able to do so, the chapter members convened a meeting with their GM, diversity and inclusion, HR, and corporate communications to go over their concerns and whatever present their case on how to move forward. I'm pleased to say there was approval and support was received from all these key stakeholders, and the Pride celebration was held. It was a successful event, and no negative issues were reported out of it. So a very positive change. That's why it gives me great pleasure to not only offer this award, but accept it on their behalf for the Elkton chapter, which is in Virginia.
I don't know how the hell you do this.
All right. I definitely don't work it as well as some, but I'm going to try. So when I reached out to Vicki Lynn and I said, congratulations, you're receiving this award, she did start crying on the phone. She asked me not to cry. I told her I can't guarantee that. She said, then my second choice is that you show up in leather and stilettos. So you can be on record that I showed up in patent leather stilettos to honor the Elkton chapter and Vicki Lynn. I'd like to share some words, if I don't fall over, on behalf of Vicki Lynn. She, on behalf of the Elkton chapter, wanted to just thank everyone and to let them know that they are thrilled and honored to receive this award. They want everybody to know they're grateful for their awesome allies and the sponsor and plant manager, Raul Diaz, for the incredible support that they continuously receive, because without the support, we couldn't have made the changes that we needed to make in our workplace and community. Thanks, Shari. The fact that Elkton Pride 2012 drew no media attention this year is a strong statement about the progress that has been made in a very small community. Businesses even contacted us this year requesting to be part of the celebration in a positive attribution. People are noticing that Merck is not afraid, and sometimes it's not popular or easy, but it's the right thing to do. They believe that the stance that they take will attract not only the best workforce and continue to strengthen the company, but it shows that there's community and company pride. She, on behalf of the Elkton chapter, is so proud to work for a company that allows them to make a difference in their workplace and continue to bring innovative and great products to the market. Thank you. They're saddened that they couldn't be here, and thank you for recognizing the accomplishments they've made. Another big round of applause. I'd rather just do the transition.
It's the season for the rock. You are
I
tall.
want to see you walk in those.
That wasn't part of the agreement. Now, as I go back behind the curtain to change back out, I'd like to introduce my colleague Shari Johnson for the rest of the awards.
Sure, this is your way of trying to get me to not post it on Facebook. It's not going to work. It'll go right on Vicky's page. All right, so I have the distinct privilege of presenting 2 very special awards this evening. 3, apparently, I was just told. I'll take 3. All right, so this last award is given to our most promising new contributor. And just to show how this award has kind of progressed the last couple of years, I remember coming as a newbie when everybody was wondering who the heck I was to this thing, and getting an award like this. And then the next year I got an award like Reese. Last year, Reese won this award, most promising new contributor. And look at Reese now, outstanding contributor. So I fully expect next year that this person will be the outstanding contributor for Merck Rainbow Alliance.
No pressure.
There is no pressure whatsoever. So this person is somebody who we've already seen on the stage tonight, Janice Marty. Yeah, you thought you were going to Boston, didn't you? Congratulations. So Janice reached out to me early this year, and she said, she told me her story about how 2 years ago she tried to join MRA and something happened and she didn't get on the list. And I said, well, that's just not right. We're going to take care of that right now. So I called her and we chatted a bit, and I found out she was full of spirit and energy and great ideas, and she's in the field, and that's an area where we just are not doing enough. And so I was thrilled to get her energy into the group. And she hopped right in, and Lee and I had the privilege of spending some time with her in P-Town with her partner Zara in August, and getting to know her a little bit along with Deb France. And it's nice how we all end up in one spot in the same week, and got to know her a bit, and I drug her into Out and Equal. And not only did she go to Out and Equal, but she also helped with a lot of preparations. And that's something that somebody that's just brand new to the group doesn't typically do. She's also joined the Corporate Reputation and Responsibility Task Force and provided me with a whole slew of good ideas this last week. And I appreciate that. And I just have absolutely no doubt that Janice is going to do wonderful things with us in the years to come. So congratulations.
It's so overwhelming. I mean, as Shari had mentioned and I had mentioned earlier, I really wanted to be part of MRA, and it was interesting. I mean, I came from Organon. I was legacy Organon, Shari Plow, and Merck. And Organon, as far as I know, we didn't have a group. I don't remember having any kind of LGBT group at all. And then Shari Plow, I felt like I was with them for a hot minute, and then all of a sudden we were bought by Merck. So it's just been so wonderful, and I honestly can't thank Shari enough for inviting me in and making me feel like part of this group. And then at Out and Equal, meeting Melvin, and Melvin came in, and my gosh, because of Hurricane Sandy, everybody was there at different times, so it was pretty crazy, the whole situation Out and Equal because of Sandy. And Melvin was just so willing to come and meet with my partner and her whole KPMG group, and he's like, yeah, I'll come. And here he was, sitting with me, and it was great. And I and just everyone has been so warm and welcoming, and I mean, honestly, it's like I'm just looking around the room, I'm like, wow, like all my new friends, like all of you have been so amazing, and I do hope to aspire to what Reese has done, because you have done so much amazing stuff. So I really hope that I could fulfill to the next level that you have reached. Thank you.
It's good when you truly surprise someone. And now let us pray. So, you had the white collar? Yeah, I can close that up. Not a hug, no. All right, so for the final two awards of the evening, I've got the great pleasure to present to a couple of dear friends and valued colleagues. And a few years ago, we started an award in recognition of our founder, Louise Winsky, who's in the back. Please wave, Louise. Louise started this group back in '99 in a basement somewhere in New Hope where people were afraid to go on site for a meeting. And she's blazed the trail, got us domestic partnership benefits, and just did so much in moving this ERG into what it is today. So we named this award in her honor, and so far we've given it out twice, and after tonight we'll have given it out to 4 incredibly deserving recipients. So this award is something that is presented to an MRA member who's become an active contributor to MRA, and we present this to individuals who during the years have given their time and talents to contribute significantly to Merck's LGBT ERG. It's presented to an individual who has given continued and outstanding service to the organization, has exemplified standards of courage, leadership, and holds the esteem of colleagues and peers, and has worked to further the mission and vision of Merck Rainbow Alliance. This award is Merck Rainbow Alliance's highest honor, and we don't give it out every year, so it's only given when it's truly, truly deserved. And this year I've got a couple of dear friends to give it to. The first one is somebody that I met when I first came to Merck and joined MRA about 5 years ago, and she was the advisor to us all, the ERG liaison from Global Diversity and Inclusion, and just a great spirit of fun, an incredibly hard worker, absolutely tireless advocate and friend, and also an endless source of entertainment. So Lynn always gets scared when I get up here and start talking about her. I don't know why. But, you know, I think about Lynn relating the story that she had transferred out from San Diego to Upper Gwinnett, and she received a nice office with a nice glass window, and it had this pink triangle on the door, surrounded by a yellow or a green ring. And she was commenting to one of her colleagues. She said, you know, I think it's really, really weird. I'm in this glass room, but they think this is a fallout shelter. It's a fallout shelter. Why is that? And I got, no, Lynn, that's a safe space emblem. That means it's a safe place to discuss LGBT issues in your office. Okay. So needless to say, she has lived up to that and far beyond. I've traveled many places with Lynn and spent many hours in the car, many hours on the train, and just working tirelessly with her, and we're pinging each other through IM constantly and texts, and you know, anything that we can do to push different activities through. And she's helped us with rebranding and just anything that possibly has to have any approval or any type of advice or advocacy through global diversity and inclusion. She's led numerous events for other ERGs, and she brings a group of disabled Germans who all get the flu through to tour. The Rolla Gang, maybe she can explain that one to you, but she has all sorts of fun. She's also been absolutely instrumental in running the Fellows Program for the United Negro College Fund, which is a really huge undertaking every year. But through all of this, the one thing that we know is that we'll always be her favorite. Now, Lynn likes to say that she was not really hired at Merck. She kind of thinks, oh, I'm not the type of employee Merck would have hired. Instead, I was acquired because she came from a company that was purchased out in San Diego. I think every company should be so lucky as to acquire someone like Lynn. I know that and I already do miss her dearly because she has retired and she's actually staying behind before she moves out to Colorado to live near her daughter and beautiful granddaughter. But we got her to stay one extra night so she could be here. And I just want to say thank you to my dear friend and my colleague, Lynn Alba, for all of her help through the years. We're pleased to present you with the Linsky Award.
It's really an honor to be at the same place with Willie and Bridgette. I'm not really much of a speaker because I'm a doer. And I think for most of you that know me all these years, that's what I do. I mean, that's my action. But I just wanted to mention one thing that I was thinking about this evening. And one dimension of inclusion that we tend to forget are people who are acquired. I always felt different. You know, I never felt like I was the type of person that would have hired here at Merck. I didn't have the same right pedigree, I didn't come from the right schools, I didn't come from the right organizations. And here I am 13 years later and feel very, very fortunate and blessed that I've been able to do the work that I've been doing. But this group in particular became my family. They embraced me, they understood, you know, what it was like, you know, for me to be different as well, and I really appreciate that of everybody. I was never alone on a holiday, you know, and again, I appreciate all of you for what you've done, and as I've told you all, I'm here no matter what you need. You all have my email address and my phone number, and, you know, please feel free to keep in touch with me. So thank you again.
So some tough shoes to follow, but we will. I think we'll do okay here. The last award of the evening is going to someone who's also been our tireless advocate, friend, advisor, sponsor, and that is Mike Thean. And Mike is still here, still involved. Now I do have to tell both Lynn and Mike, I was not involved with the nominations or the selection process because I happened to miss the meeting, but I was told, you're presenting these 2 awards, and I was literally thrilled, of course, because I consider you both my friends and mentors. And you've done just amazing things. When I first came on board, you were the lone executive sponsor, really, for Merck Rainbow Alliance, and you worked through the transition of merging with Shearing Plow and harmonizing our ERGs and taking us from Gleam and Rainbow Alliance Network to become Merck Rainbow Alliance. You provided wonderful advice, helped us navigate through a lot of the waters of legal at Merck, which can be quite a challenge, as many of you know. You helped us kind of forage into Asia and some of the other countries where it's more difficult to even be able to put out a communication to our colleagues in those countries because HR hears the words LGBT and instantly thinks that they can put up a roadblock, or every attorney within Merck gets to say something just because of those 4 magic letters. Well, Mike was not going to accept that, and he forged ahead, and he was able to make sure that we were able to distribute our Pride posters globally for the first time. So he and I worked together beginning on the Global Constituency Group. He was one of the original members of the LGBT group. So I got to know him a bit there, but I think, you know, seeing him through the years, I really got to know him much more when he attended Out and Equal in Dallas. And Mike has been our sponsor for the last several years for those of us who have attended. He's pledged his support monetarily with Willie's support as well. So financial and just advisory and just a shoulder to lean on at times. But he came to Dallas and he sat down with us and he had an amazing time. And I remember on that last day sitting down with him and we all told our stories and we all told why we were there to do the work. And everyone was in awe when he spoke. He talked about growing up in San Francisco. So, obviously surrounded by LGBT people. He talked about his personal connection to the AIDS fight. He talked about working on Crixivan when it was, you know, trying to rush it to market was literally saving lives. Day by day, every day we didn't get it to market meant people were dying. And so he worked tirelessly on that through the years. And I remember him relating a story too about how he felt other. When he was in college, he was invited to the Vietnamese Society's picnic because he had the last name Thien. And for those of you who aren't familiar, it's a very, very common Vietnamese last name. So he comes to the picnic, and they all look at him like, what are you doing here? I was invited. So he definitely feels it, and he definitely gets it. And he's just an amazing, amazing man and a wonderful friend. And we look forward to continuing to partner with you. This is by no means a goodbye, so don't even think that. We're going to latch on even tighter now. But so I'd be glad to present this award to the man I consider our fairy godfather.
So I'm really honored to receive this evening. Growing up, I guess I didn't get it because the LGBT community was just part of the fabric of where I grew up, where I lived. It was a natural part of things, and going to college it was the same. Going to graduate school it was the same. I really didn't truly understand the challenge and the difference until I lived in Elkton for a couple of years. And it all goes back to Elkton, doesn't it? But at the time that we were working on Crixavan, I was leaving the plant one night, and I stopped at the 7-Eleven. And I went in to get a soda and a candy bar, and there was the woman at the counter, and I said, I'd like this. And she said, thank you, anything else? I said, unless you got a pillow and a blanket, no, that's all I need. And so she sold it to me, and I walked out the door, and this guy followed me out the door. And he wanted to know why I was hitting on his girlfriend, because he heard pillow and blanket. And I started just saying that, no, that wasn't it. I'm really exhausted, and I'm just going to take this and go home. And he got between me and my car, and he said, you're not from around here, are you? And I said, no, I'm not. And he said, are you working on that gay medicine? And I said, I am working on Crixavan, and it will help many people who are afflicted with HIV and AIDS. And he made it clear that he wanted to beat the crap out of me. And it was the first time I'd really experienced that kind of visceral prejudice. And being a quick thinker, I immediately went in and bought a 6-pack of beer and sat him down on the curb, and we started drinking. And three beers later, he was fine. We were best friends, and I drove the hell out of there. But that made it really clear to me the challenges that members of the LGBT community face every single day. And it was a real wake-up call for me, having kind of never really had to experience that before. When I first got associated with Gleam, I have to say it's interesting that this is Louisa's award, because the first time I showed up at a Gleam meeting, I had told Deb I'd be happy to be executive sponsor. I didn't know it was an interview, but they were interviewing me, so it was very interesting, the whole thing. My association with Gleam and MRA has been really a great experience for me. And, you know, kind of thinking about that experience I had in Elkton, I have to say that, and Shari referred to it, it never occurred to me how hard it would be within Merck. But we had written a sponsorship message for Willie to go out to all of the MMD sites about the LGBT community and support and sponsorship of that. And it was amazing to me the obstacles within Merck to be able to get such a message out to the world. And it really brought in tight focus how no matter how hard you work, there always seem to be obstacles. And I have so much respect for everyone who is in MRA, who brings their entire selves to work every single day with pride and ready to share with others. And so this is not your award, my award, this is your award, because I think what you do is so fantastic, and I'm really proud to be an ally and will help in any way. So thank you.
Okay, we didn't make him cry. We need to do something else. I'll pass it over now to Melvin for some closing remarks.
So thank you, everybody. I know we ran a little bit late, but really want to recognize those that we just give the award to. It means a lot to us, really do. Thank you for being here tonight, and remember 2013 is around the corner. We need a lot of engagement, need your help, and we appreciate Willie's being here. Bridgette. We appreciate that very, very much. It's good night, and you want to say something?
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just want to, just on those words, I do want to just, it wouldn't be a Merck meeting and I wouldn't be a salesman if I didn't actually have an ask as well, okay? So there is an ask. And the ask obviously is that you take the messages back to your teams, and for those in leadership positions, to take it back to your bosses and to the people under you about what you've done and the event and the LGBT community. We will be hitting you up for money. I just want to let you know. Because one of the things, one of our challenges, and it's a challenge everybody faces, next year is a very, very difficult year for the company. We have a slew of critical products to launch, and we have to find ways within the company to fund those launches in order to be able to continue to do what we're doing. Everyone's budgets are stretched, everyone's purses are very, very tight. In order for us to continue what we want to do, we also need the support, financial as well as time and effort. So we are going to be hitting you up, and we've been lucky enough to have a couple of really great sponsors who have helped us to, continue some of the work we're doing. But, my idea is I would rather have 20 people giving $10,000 from their budget in order to help fund our activities rather than 2 or 3 people giving $50,000. Because creating a broader network of people who understand the value and who appreciate and are engaged is going to just serve us much, much better going forward. And so we will be asking you to sort of, find a couple of extra bucks here and there in your budgets to help fund a lot of the critical events that we're going to be doing in the coming year, and to help, both our Merck's reputation as well as to help the community that is here and is so vital to the work that we're doing. So keep your wallets open over the course of the year and squirrel away a little bit of money in your budgets for LGBT.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry, because you make it better than me. You say it right to the point. We have some desserts left. We still can have some drinks, so please stay with us. We have another 15 or 20 more minutes here. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you.